Josh Moser, our favorite sportscaster. What's popping, man?
I think I'm liking that view. I might need to pan just a little bit.
We could do that. Welcome to the Miami crib, the cracker box, 400 square foot, high rise for more than I want to share with anybody. Yeah, except there's really no room for all the suits. It's basically like everything's in the living room.
You're like the coolest sportscaster in Miami. You look so Miami, man. Like we can tell that you from Dade County. Like you rep the city real good.
Okay. And I appreciate that. That's saying a lot. That's
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, that's some high praise from the man that has lived Dade County, especially somebody like you, man. That means more than you know.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. So, Josh, I know you got work to do over there at Channel 7, but let's talk about the misery. It's a misery Monday, and I'm trying to keep people optimistic. I'm trying to keep them from jumping off the ledge. But Dolphin fans are boiling mad right now. Boiling mad. How did Tim Boyle, and no offense to him, but I'm going to start there. How did Tim Boyle even get on this football team? Like, what's that all about? What's that all about?
Well, yeah, see, that's how we feel. You know what? At this point, I'm just so sick and tired of the excuses.
Right.
Look, Tim Boyle came into the league, was never really good in college, played at two places. I got to know him when I was covering the Green Bay Packers. He was brought in as Aaron Rodgers' backup. Then he bounced around a little bit with the Bears. He was with the Lions. He was with Aaron in New Jersey. So it's kind of the familiarity of offensive coordinators and knowing somebody that can run this offense. But let's just be real. Like, you're down to your fourth-string quarterback.
Yeah.
I also want to know what happened to Skylar Thompson. He had the rib injury. Now he was the emergency QB, so he was even behind Tim Boyle, which is very interesting to me. But you just can't put yourself in this position. You look at some of these other teams around the league. Joe Flacco could have played. Imagine if the Dolphins had Joe Flacco yesterday, they probably would have beaten Anthony Richardson and the Colts. And we understand that Chris Greer structured this roster the way that he did, and simply a backup quarterback was a luxury the Dolphins could not afford under the salary cap. But it's frustrating. You gave all that money to Tua. We have all this talk about the offensive line, and they keep saying, offensive line's great. And it's just frustrating. That was the worst defense in the league. I think the Dolphins defense, even without Javon Holland and Emmanuel Ogbah, played great. You basically gave up 16 points. You're telling me your offense with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and all the money you have invested on that side of the ball can't get you 17 points to win this game? To me, it's atrocious. And, I really don't think, I'm sorry, Dolphins fans that are listening, I don't think that throwing Tua back in here, he's just going to be the savior. I don't think he's the fix-all to everything. And I know that people are thinking that might be the expectation, but there's a lot that has to change with this offense. I hope that Tua can get him in the right direction. But, realistically, you're talking about needing to win 8 out of 11 games, and tall order, just keeping it real.
Yeah, a lot of problems on this team, man. Is this something in the locker room that we don't know? Like, what's the mood? I saw them laughing on the sidelines yesterday, and people didn't like seeing that.
Yeah, that's just kind of the mentality with this team. You kind of take after your head coach. You want to brush things off. You want to laugh it off. But there is a time for seriousness. I don't think that Mike McDaniel's lost the locker room. I don't think that the players are quitting, but I can tell you that Tyreek Hill's certainly frustrated. And, look, I understand that it's a team sport. You can hear all the 11 talk, but let's be real. There are legitimate amplifiers in salary based off of performance. Odell Beckham Jr., who has been awful in 2 games, and he has escalators in his contract where if he hits catches, yards, and all that, he's losing money. Tyreek Hill's losing money, even though a lot of it's guaranteed. These guys, especially the ones that are playing for a contract on offense, it's just like, give me the ball. And, we saw Devontae Adams basically leave Las Vegas because he didn't have a quarterback that could get him the ball. And, right now I think the Dolphins are in that same situation. And then the hope is that, Tua can come back here on Wednesday, officially be activated. We'll hear from Mike McDaniel on that at, I think, like 145. But this was the number 1 offense in the league last year. They put up 70 points against the Broncos in a single game. And now for 6 games, they only have 70 points. We're averaging less than 12 points a game right now. And that's just, to me, it's just unexcusable.
I have lots of questions. Let's start here. Why is Waddle and Hill not getting the ball? Why are they not getting the ball?
Well, it really has to go with the defense that's being played. Basically when you stop the outside zone run, which is what the Dolphins have, they're playing a two-shell, which is taking away the deep pass. They're forcing them to run. And then what they're doing is they're taking a middle linebacker and they're bringing him to the outside. And it leaves the middle of the field open, which is where Tua excels. They had all the passes over the middle of the field. And those are timing routes. And as good as Snoop Huntley is, he's a SoFlo pro. He's from right here. People love him. His inability to throw the deep ball allows the defense to creep forward. So basically you're getting separation off the line from Tyreek and Waddle, but you have to hit it in just a really, really quick window. And that's not what Tyler Huntman does. He's more like Lamar Jackson, where he's using his legs more. He's going to hit the tight end. That's why Jonnu Smith has had so much success. The one pass he had to Tyreek never even saw it. So I'm curious to see what happened on that play. I was not in Indy, so I didn't get a chance to speak to him. But you've got to throw the deep ball to spread out the defense, and that's going to open up the run game more. But we knew that this was going to be run dominant. They did a great job around the ball. They just had two unfortunate fumbles between Raheem Moser and Alec Ingle, and those guys are really normally very great at ball security. It was just, two bad plays, but you have to be able to stretch the field vertically. And to me, it's Mike McDaniel. You're the offensive guru. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put your guys in positions to succeed. And unfortunately, just with Tyreek, with Waddle, it's not happening. We saw the one handoff, the end around to Tyreek was a way to get him a touch, but one catch each, and I think it was like 3 total targets. I mean, you've got to be more creative than that, no matter who's at quarterback, in my opinion.
And I feel like we need to go back to basics. We're having a lot of penalties, missing field goals. I mean, just the basics, that's what we're not getting from them.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't beat yourself, and the penalties are brutal, especially these pre-snap penalties. It's week 7. In the beginning of the season, we knew that there were new rules where the tackles need to be covered up the center. I think there were 2 of those. Those you just can't have. With the field goal, 4 yards, it's long. Remember, there was a new long snapper in there because Blake Ferguson was out this week, so a little bit of an unfamiliarity there. That's kind of it sucks, but it is what it is. I wouldn't worry about that with Jason Sanders. But, yeah, I mean, to me, it's more of your defense plays good enough for you to win. And you cough up the football. You don't get anything going offensively. And this was the worst defense in the league. If you're only putting up 10 points against the worst defense in the league, what are you going to do the rest of the season? And, it's just frustrating because there were Super Bowl aspirations to begin this year, coming off of 2 playoff berths. And right now, it seems like it's a far cry if this team's going to make the playoffs. So, and now the question is, does Chris Greer feel confident in his job? Because if he doesn't, he's going to make some moves and be aggressive here at the trade deadline. If he does, we might see them sell off pieces and go, into next year. But Tyreek's got no guaranteed money. He's got an out after his contract. Bradley Chubb's got an out in his contract. So you are built to win now. So it's either kind of put up or shut up time, meaning you're kind of all in on this season, or you're going to blow this thing up and rebuild essentially for next year and the next 3 years now that you have 2 under a long-term deal. And we're going to find that out pretty much in the next 2 weeks, because if those 2 weeks go badly, and I'm almost wondering in my own head, since we haven't heard from Mike McDaniel, is there incentive to bring Tua back now, or are they simply at 2-4, too far gone? To me, I think the answer is no. I think there's incentive for him to play, but do you almost protect him? Because if you lose the Cardinals here, essentially, and you go to 2-5, I mean, that's a long cry. I was looking at a stat, NFL history, if you're 2-4, you have less than a 10% chance to make the playoffs. So it's 9 and change. So that's where we're at right now.
Making us feel better today, right? You do know you're not making us feel better.
No, it's even real.
Yeah, let's set realistic expectations. Jalen Ramsey's phenomenal. Is he worth $24 million a year? He's a Hall of Famer. They call him Gold Jacket for a reason. There's a lot of money going over there. You upped Raheem Mostert, who has been phenomenal. And the reality is, I think he's a trade candidate. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is a trade candidate to go find another team. This kid, Jalen Wright, has been phenomenal. But with the salary cap, you only have so much money to go around, and you have to maneuver your chess pieces. It's unfortunate Emmanuel Ogbah was out. You hope that Bradley Chubb can come back. Javon Holland should be good enough. I mean, with that broken hand, they're going to have to pay him. So right now, it seems like they overpaid on a lot of guys, and the guys that they're paying money to aren't really delivering. And then the way that you win, if you go back to Seattle and the Legion of Boom when they were really good with Russell Wilson at quarterback, what happened was all of your younger players on their first contracts, which were cheaper, they all overperformed. And that's where we need to see, these younger players. Chop Robinson got hurt a little bit in that game. We haven't seen him flash yet. I understand, he's a rookie. Channing Tindall, the third-round pick out of Georgia, was inactive. I mean, he's basically done at this point. So you got to hit on these younger players. Cam Smith, we haven't seen. Devon Achane was, a good hit. You paid Austin Jackson. He's been, so-so. So these players you got to hit on. And it's just so frustrating to see all that money spent on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and their production just unfortunately isn't it. But let's hope with Tua coming back. But, that's a big if right now.
Well, you know what? We're talking to Josh Moser, of course, from Wsvn Sports. Let's make the people in South Florida feel a little better, because there is a guy that plays quarterback that resides in Coral Gables that I think is going to win the Heisman Trophy. Is going to be the savior for somebody on the next level.
Let's see. I mean, right now, he's probably a top 5 pick, especially if they continue to win. I think where he's really going to make his money is if this team makes the playoffs, which I expect them to do. He's going to have to play really, really well. We got the sun coming out, so we'll throw these back on. Not to Cam.
Definitely.
Man, but, Cam is special, and, I'm very close with Xavier Restrepo, and he kind of gives me the info on Cam, and, he's changed that program, and what he's done in a very short amount of time. I think the coolest story that I can share is from Michael Irvin. There was a point right before the season started where Lamar Jackson was working out, and I'm going to leave him nameless, but a couple receivers were like, yo, I'm up in Broward, and we're throwing with Lamar. Like, how cool is this, the MVP? And Cam gets on the phone. He's like, and get your ass to Coral Gables. Is he going to be throwing touchdowns this year? Like, no, it's me. And it's like, so that right there says a lot. I hope that his game, I envision it transferring to the next level. Obviously, I mean, you look at this year's rookie class, Jaden Daniels, even though he got hurt, looks phenomenal. Caleb Williams is coming on. Drake May is starting to come along here. So there's a lot of talent. Yeah. Bo Nix will get a look. And I mean, he's starting right away. So it's just a question, though, of if you're the Dolphins, you just paid Tua $200 million. Are you really going to waste a first-round pick? Are you really going to use a first-round pick on a quarterback? I experienced this in Green Bay when I covered Aaron Rodgers and they took Jordan Love. Was it the 100% right move for the organization? Yes, it looks great 3 years down the road, but he sat and he waited. So right now, you've got the oldest roster in the NFL right now with the Dolphins. So your window is closing with these guys. And remember, Stephen Ross is getting older. So I don't know how much they're going to do it. But, man, Cam, I envision them getting to the ACC championship game. They should win that, and they should get into the playoffs. And then we're going to find out what this team can do against a Georgia, against Ohio State, against an Oregon. I mean, those boys look big. I mean, right now I think they can beat Alabama. But strength of schedule in the ACC is what it is. But, man, they're fun to watch. It's going to be fun on Saturday. Favored by 21 points over Florida State. I'll be in the building. Anytime you can beat Florida State, it's a beautiful thing. I don't care if they're having a down year or not. It's a beautiful thing. And that tailgate's going to be insane. So you got to hydrate before that one.
I've been to some wild Florida State UM tailgates, man. I'll tell you this. But there's something about that Miami defense that makes me want to hold my nose. Like they're that bad, and I don't mean this. I mean they suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Cam saves everything. He always saves the day. We can't rely on that.
No, and I mean you look at that Georgia front seven. I mean those guys are just different. I know there's Ruben Bain. I know Maui Noah in the middle is good. The difference with college football versus the NFL is when you talk about team defenses. Mainly the big plays in college, it's a broken play where the defense makes a mistake. I'm just being honest with you. Or you just have a freak athlete that's just that much bigger, faster, stronger that just outruns you. I mean, look at Damian Martinez. I mean, he's just manhandling people. He's just that much better. And these broken coverages are how you get the big plays. So that is kind of the nature of college football. But, man, you win games by scoring more points than the other team. So if you're going to put up a 50 spot and you got Cam Ward and everything on that offense, you really don't need defense. So that's kind of how they're built. It's kind of like basketball. If you go down every time and you shoot threes, the other team's got to make 3 baskets to your every 2. So you're playing the percentages. And that's kind of how the Canes are structured. And then whenever they get a stop, it's a bonus. But, this team has the opportunity to get a lot better. And I'm very curious to see They'll probably see Clemson in the ACC title game, but and that playoff, we're going to really find out just how good Cam Ward and this team really is.
I hear a lot of people talking about how calm and cool he is on the sidelines, even when they're down, and that some of the pros are saying he's that guy. Would you say he's that guy?
I mean, I think he's different right now than anybody in college football, and I think that he is that guy as far as the college level. The NFL is a little bit of a different game, and you're going to have to come in and you're going to have to work. And you hear from Mario Cristobal, everything that Cam does is right. And they have so much praise for him. I think it's going to translate very well. You just hope that he gets into a good situation. I mean, you look at Bryce Young and the Panthers. I mean, it's tough. When you're a top 5 pick, you're going to the worst teams in the league. And that might not necessarily be the best situation for these quarterbacks. We'll see what goes on with him. Shedeur Sanders could be a top pick. Milroe out of Alabama's really struggled. I think he's moving down the draft boards. So there's some players that will be available there. I know the playoffs will determine a lot. I think the combine will determine a lot when these scouts actually get to talk to Cam. And unfortunately, Canes fans, I see him going. I don't see him coming back, even though he's got that extra year of eligibility. But I mean, he's making 7 figures this year. But I think it's time for him to go pro. I hope that he does really, really well. We're going to find out a lot in the second half of the season. But you hope that he's another one of these guys that can really, play well, because there hasn't been a quarterback in the NFL from the U that's been really, really good in a very long time.
Man, I'm telling you, I feel great. I feel great. I feel
great talking to you every day. Yeah. On Monday, I get to talk to Jeff, get to talk to Jenny. This is what it's about.
This is what it's all about, man.
What about the polls? Why we didn't move up?
So I think that goes back to the strength of schedule. I mean, you have 3 teams with 1 loss, and they're just different. It's a different level of football when you look at those guys. I think, you look at who the Canes have and who Mario Cristobal has brought in. He's brought in those athletes. You have to have those types of guys to win. But I mean, this kid on Georgia, Walker on the end, I mean, he's just different.
Yeah, that's true.
Like these guys are first-round picks. I mean, Ruben Bain will get there. Maui Noah might be, but, it's the defense. These teams have legitimate defenses. And, I mean, you talk about Texas is one of the most prolific offenses, and Georgia just shut them down.
Yeah.
It's Georgia has these guys. And, I mean, you talk about, the national championship team when you had Ed Reed in Miami, like those guys, the players that they had on that side of the ball were just different. And you get, 4 or 5 of those guys, it changes things. That's why Georgia's been so good. They put first-round talent from defense into the league. And when you have big guys that can move specifically on the offensive and defensive line, those are your most important players. That's what changes the game. That's what allows you to dominate time of possession. That's the game of football, just being realistic. That's what GMs covet. They're the hardest players to find, and when you get those guys, that's really the secret sauce, if you will. You can always find a wide receiver. You can always find a skill player. You get those guys in front, they can even make a bad quarterback look good because he's got all that extra time. So, and then if you've got him on the other side of the ball, you're getting more opportunities because the other team just can't move the ball. He's got no time to throw. So that's really what it boils down to at its simplistic form. I know we spend all this time, this, that, and the other. It's just, can you find the big guys that can move? I mean, and they're going to win you the games, 75% of the time.
I think, you know what? We're going to wrap it up right here, Josh. I know you got stuff to do. You live in Miami, man. So how could you not have stuff?
That background.
Oh, it's really not that, it's just like I'm going to go get a quick workout in, and I'm going to head to the Dolphins facility, and then we're in, suit and tie the rest of the day. So it's not as glamorous as it seems.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part of the day. This is
right.
Looks glamorous, and you're one of our favorite parts of the day. We so much thank you for joining us. Pleasure.
Anytime.
Yes, sir. Josh Moser, the Mose knows. Hey, man. Let me tell you, man, it's great to be a Miami Hurricane. I'm loving life right now. Georgia is the measuring stick, but we're back, baby. We're back, and I love it.
We going to see Wednesday heat opener? Are you going to be there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll be in the house.
See you then. We'll see you
then.
Yeah. Love me some Remix Sports Media.